All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rach HaKodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, laboring in His truth in all sincerity. 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 10. But the day of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up.
US President Donald Trump has doubled down on his decision to restart nuclear testing, suggesting that despite enough weapons with the US to blow up dozens of countries, Russia and China's nuke ambitions are a reason to resume tests. Trump accused Russia and China, as well as Pakistan and North Korea, of having conducted underground nuclear tests unknown to the public, and said the US will follow suit. Confusion has surrounded Trump's order that the US begin testing, particularly if he meant conducting the country's first nuclear explosion since 1992. US Energy Secretary has, however, cleared that the nuclear weapons testing ordered by Trump will not involve nuclear explosions this time. Wright, in an interview to Fox News, said that the tests being talked about right now are system tests. He said the testing involves all the other parts of a nuclear weapon to make sure they are functioning and can set up a nuclear blast. The Energy Secretary further said the tests will be carried out on a new system to help ensure replacement nuclear weapons are better than the previous ones. Just before his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea, Trump said he ordered the US military to immediately restart the process for testing nuclear weapons after a halt of 33 years, a move that appeared to be a message to rival nuclear powers China and Russia. He reaffirmed his commitments on Friday, but did not answer directly when asked whether that would include underground nuclear tests that were common during the Cold War.
Okay, so we see things are heating up here with the US, China, and Russia, as well as North Korea and Pakistan. Nero is basically alleging that these particular countries have been performing underground nuclear testing as well as expanding their military arsenals. So Nero is feeling the need to play a little nuclear chess, so he orders the US to begin the nuclear systems testing on the Minuteman III ICBMs. These particular tests actually are going to be conducted Wednesday, November 5th and Thursday, November 6th. So from the time of the uploading of this particular video here, that is tomorrow, and the next day, Thursday. The actual time of the testing will be announced closer to the actual launch testings, and that is also weather permitting. So we're seeing that the nuclear systems testings for the Minuteman III ICBMs are going to take place over the next 2 days here, and that is in response to China, Russia, North Korea, and Pakistan allegedly performing underground nuclear testing. So I'm just going to take a quick look here at a Newsweek article that goes a little bit more into detail on that video we just watched. Map shows the first U.S. nuclear missile test since Trump's comments. And this particular article came out on November 3rd, 2025 at approximately 3:04 a.m. And you can find this on newsweek.com. Navigational warnings indicate that the U.S. has scheduled its first test of a nuclear-capable but unarmed intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM after President Nero ordered the renewal of testing, according to a Newsweek map. And yes, once again, these are unarmed ICBM tests. This is only a systems test to make sure that all of the components for a successful nuclear detonation are present on these particular missiles. These missiles have not been tested for over 30 years. Why it matters: last week, Nero announced on social media that he had ordered the Department of Defense, actually this is now the Department of War, to immediately begin testing nuclear weapons, as Russia and China, the key nuclear rivals of the U.S., have continued testing their respective arsenals. Energy Secretary Chris Wright later clarified that the test will not include actual detonations like those previously carried out in the country. Instead, they will involve all other parts of a nuclear weapon to ensure that they can trigger an atomic explosion. The U.S. military has regularly tested its ICBM fleet, which is part of the nuclear triad, along with the nuclear-armed ballistic missile submarines and bombers, several times a year to ensure secure, effective, and practical in providing strategic deterrence. And this is the actual missile here that they are going to be testing. This is pretty much just this is not the actual missile, more so of what it actually looks like. This particular missile is about 6 stories high. The average apartment has 10-foot ceilings, anywhere between 10 to 12 feet ceilings. So this is approximately 6 stories high. It's kind of shaped like, if you remember the old M16s, if you're familiar with those particular weapons, the military has since upgraded, but the old M16s, this is exactly how their rounds were shaped. If you look at this horizontally, that's exactly, if you could see this missile horizontally, it's shaped pretty much just like the M16 assault rifles rounds, the 5.56 millimeter standard round. There's just a couple of other pictures of it. And these are its dimensions. The Minuteman III missile is 59 feet, 18 meters long, and has a diameter of 5.5 or 1.67 meters. That's 5.5 feet or 1.67 meters. It weighs 79,432 pounds and is a 3-stage solid propellant intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM. So let's take a look at another article here. But before we do that, I was kind of interested in Pakistan. I was well aware of China, Russia, and North Korea's military and their nuclear capabilities. But when the initial video mentioned Pakistan, I was kind of curious about that, because I thought that they had ICBMs. Or at least that's what I thought that the video was stating. So I had to actually Google this up for myself. Not this one. So I Googled it up. Does Pakistan have ICBMs? AI Overview answered, no, Pakistan does not currently possess an operational ICBM, but intelligence agencies report that it is actively developing one that could have a range capable of reaching the continental U.S. While Pakistan has a nuclear arsenal, its missile program is still in development for long-range capabilities. So they have nukes, just not an ICBM that is capable of reaching the U.S. I also asked, is Pakistan an ally of the U.S.? I had always heard that they were somewhat of an ally, but AI Overview stated Pakistan is designated a major non-NATO ally of the U.S., a status granted in 2004. However, the relationship is complex and has been described as a roller coaster marked by periods of close cooperation as well as significant estrangement due to issues like Pakistan's alleged support for the Taliban. This specific ally does not make Pakistan a formal member of NATO, but provides certain benefits like access to U.S. military technology and training. So what is Nero's motive for reawakening the Minuteman III? So we do understand that these particular countries, according to Nero, have been performing underground nuclear testing. This is from amg.news.com. This particular article came out on August 30th. The writer of this article is someone by the name of Medea Greer. Command directive from the top. Trump activates nuclear doctrine 2.0. I hated to do it, but had no choice. The era of strategic weakness is over. America goes nuclear. Trump orders immediate testing of U.S. nuclear weapons, declaring no choice as China and Russia expand their arsenals. The deep state wanted disarmament. Trump just hit the launch button. He orders, I hated to do it, but I had no choice. The most reluctant but necessary command in modern history. In a shocking yet brutally honest statement, President Nero confirmed the U.S. has more nuclear weapons than any other country. I hated to do it, but had no choice. This isn't fear-mongering. This isn't political theater. This is command-level strategic doctrine declared in the open by the commander-in-chief. Trump's logic, global enemies are testing. The U.S. cannot afford to fall behind. So he gave the order. I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately. Because of other countries' testing programs, no longer speculation, our enemies are already conducting live tests. The danger is active, not theoretical. And once again, these tests are slated to start starting tomorrow, November 5th, and last into November 6th, Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So let's go into Revelation chapter 11. Revelation chapter 11, verse 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. So we know that this third woe here is World War III. So prophecy is playing out right in front of us as we speak, and we are witnesses to the Most High's word not coming back void. You're saying that we're right at a time where this is actually the beginning stages of the third woe as far as nuclear Armageddon is concerned, because this is going to be the final world war here. This is the war of Armageddon. And so we're seeing genocides and conflicts all over the world as well as current and pending wars here. So, you still have China threatening to invade Taiwan. The U.S. is threatening to invade Venezuela and Nigeria. You still have the least of the flock, the state of Israel, with the situation in Gaza. Along with a war brewing with Iran, there's still the Russia and Ukraine war. North Korea still wants South Korea back, which is the reason why the U.S. has bases in South Korea, which gives them, it puts them in striking distance of not only North Korea, but as well as China or any other country in that part of Asia, those particular, that region of the world, in case things was to get shaky there, the U.S. is already there in striking distance. You still have the situation with India and Pakistan, which goes back years. There's always been tension there. And all of this brings us right on the brink of nuclear Armageddon. All of those countries, including the countries that I haven't even mentioned, those NATO nations, as well as France and the UK, all of those countries have nukes, and all of these nukes will be put into play. And this leads us, we're right here. Let's just continue reading with Revelation 11 and 15. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of Yahweh and of his Christ, Hamashiach, Yahushai, and he shall reign forever and ever. So yes, this is actually what we're hoping for here. The end of this particular kingdom, this kingdom being brought down by these particular nukes as well as the chariots, and then ushering in of a more righteous, eternal kingdom, which is the kingdom of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So let's take a look at the some of the big boy toys that Putin has been playing with over here. And we'll go to, and first let's just take a listen to this video.
Just yesterday, there was another test of a future weapons system, and that's an unmanned submarine, Poseidon unmanned submarine, with a nuclear power plant. So for the first time, we managed not only to launch it from a carrier submarine, but to start its nuclear power plant, which powered this vessel, underwater vessel, for a certain period of time. This is a huge breakthrough as well, because with all the advantages I mentioned about Burevestnik, this one has a very small power plant, probably 100 times smaller than the nuclear submarine's nuclear reactor. But the power capacity of Poseidon greatly exceeds the power of our longest range intercontinental Sarmat missile, and soon it will be fielded. And Poseidon greatly exceeds Sarmat in capacity and power, and in depth and speeds of underwater propulsion. There are no rivals to it, and there are no ways of intercepting it. I think.
So there you have it. As this particular article states, Vladimir Putin announces successful tests of Poseidon nuclear-powered underwater drone. Its capabilities significantly surpassed the Sarmat missile, which was his most powerful long-range missile prior to the Poseidon nuclear-powered underwater drone here that he was just speaking of. And as you heard him, he stated that nothing can rival it, and it's impossible to be intercepted. So I just wanted to learn a little bit more about the Russian Poseidon nuclear-powered missile here. And this particular article here from the Washington Post, dated November 1st, 2025. What we know about the Poseidon, Russia's new super torpedo. Poseidon is part of Russia's lineup of super weapons meant to gain military parity with the West, and it can supposedly drown coastal cities. Russian President Vladimir Putin boasted this week that Russia has tested a nuclear-powered super torpedo, the Poseidon, that was unstoppable and more powerful than a nuclear missile, the second announcement in a week of Russian trials involving nuclear-capable weapon systems. So let's go to Matthew 24, 6 and 7 here. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So we're seeing China, as well as Russia, these countries are no longer intimidated or scared of the U.S. The U.S. is no longer the lone superpower in the world. You know, this goes back to the Cold War when there was a nuclear arms race between the U.S. and Russia. And for a time, the U.S. was the lone superpower. But these countries now have nukes of their own, very powerful nukes at that. These countries are developing brand new nuclear power, whereas the U.S. is dusting off missiles from 30 years ago. So not to say that those particular Minuteman missiles are no longer powerful. They still are actually powerful, and they are capable of mass destruction. But these other countries are no longer backing down. And the U.S. has what's known as a all or nothing nuclear policy. An all or nothing nuclear policy basically means that the U.S., if the U.S. is ever struck by a nuclear missile, or if they receive intel that a nuclear strike is imminent, the U.S. is going to launch every single nuclear missile that it has for fear of not being able to if they're destroyed. So the U.S., that's their policy in a nutshell. If you strike us with one, or if we receive intel that you're launching one, that you're going to launch one and it's imminent, we're going to launch every single one we have just to ensure that we use them. That is their nuclear all or nothing policy. And you can get a little more detail here. U.S. all or nothing nuclear policy, AI overview. The term all or nothing nuclear policy in the context of the U.S. refers to two different but related concepts: the historical fear of a complete nuclear war and a more recent criticism of the current policy's lack of flexibility. The historical all or nothing idea is that a nuclear conflict would end in the complete destruction of both sides. Mutual assured destruction. That is an acronym for MAD, M-A-D. However, modern U.S. nuclear policy aims to avoid this all or nothing scenario by providing a range of response options, not relying on a single catastrophic outcome. Historical all or nothing, mutual assured destruction, MAD, once again, a Cold War doctrine where both the U.S. and Soviet Union had enough nuclear weapons to destroy each other even after absorbing a first strike. This concept was a form of all or nothing, where either no nuclear weapons were used or both sides were annihilated. So this isn't just a U.S. policy. This was also the policy of the Soviet Union or Russia as well. Fear of total war. Some strategic thinkers fear that any nuclear conflict could escalate to an all-out nuclear war. Yes, no country is going to allow another country to fire one nuke at it. That's how it was in World War II. Things are different now. The U.S. is no longer the lone nuclear power in the world. So let's see what China has to say about this here. China warns the United States, if you want war, you will get it. If you want to destroy China, you will be destroyed. China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot. Right. And basically what China is stating is, we're not Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We're not Japan. If you hit us with one, you're not going to be able to fire off a second one. So let's listen here to what the president of the China Energy Security Institute has to say.
One of the weapons. If you want to have war, you will get war. If you want to destroy China, you will be destroyed. If you want to impose nuclear war on China, you will be wiped out by nuclear war. This is very serious. China's policy is very clear. China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot. If you have not watched the Victory Day parade in Beijing on September the 3rd, one of the weapons China demonstrated is a missile with all the warheads. We call it 61 because it can contain 60 nuclear warheads plus one hydrogen bomb. Now, in the world of today, let me tell you, which country has hydrogen bomb? China is the only country with hydrogen bomb. And that ICBM can cover every corner of the world in less than 20 minutes and destroy any target in any corner of the world without any possibility of being intercepted. I hope Washington has learned the lesson.
So once again, we're hearing another country. Putin stated as far as his Poseidon torpedo that there's no rival for it and it cannot be intercepted, as well as now China stating that their DF-61, which has 61 smaller nuclear warheads contained inside of this ICBM, as well as a hydrogen bomb inside of it as well. And China is also stating that that bomb is incapable or impossible to be intercepted. So these countries are no longer in awe of the United States and its military or its weaponry. These countries are ready to go all out now. And as China stated regarding the all or nothing nuclear policy that the U.S. has, China says, we won't strike first, but if you hit us with one, you won't be able to or allowed to hit us with a second one. So China's not playing with that hydrogen bomb. They built that thing to be used. So let's go to Isaiah 34. And we'll read the first 4 verses, God's wrath against the nations. Come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and all the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their host shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. And that where it says, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, that is that mushroom cloud. And from the looks of it, there's going to be a whole lot of those mushroom clouds. But these countries are going to all launch. But we know that as per prophecy, Babylon is going to be completely destroyed. So these other countries now are not playing. These countries have their sights set on the U.S. And we know that the U.S. is going to be destroyed. And that's per prophecy. So there's no reversing this. It's going to happen. So let's scroll down to verse 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, Edom, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So yes, the Edomites have, their sins have made it up to the heavens. Their treatment of the 12 tribes in these captivities, particularly this last captivity here in the Americas, this has reached the heavens, and it's time now. As the NLT says, it will fall upon Edom, that nation I have marked for destruction. So let's scroll down to verse 8. For it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Verse 9, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. And that is, the nuclear fallout there. Verse 10 states, it shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever from generation to generation. It shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. So this place isn't coming back. It won't be rebuilt. This place is going to be basically a habitation for wild animals, So as this particular chapter goes into it, so this place is not going to be rebuilt. It's not coming back. It's not. The entire landmass itself is going to be destroyed. So I'll end this here with Revelation chapter 18, verses 9 and 10. Lament for Babylon and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. I hope this has been edifying and reaches the ears it's supposed to reach. Shalom.